Hi there, I'm Phil, and with this video I wanted to kick off a new series on movie essentials, films that every film student needs to see. This series will cover the films that I encourage my own students to watch. I'm starting today with Black Narcissus, simply because I watched it again recently and thought I should make a video about it. Unlike my other series on story analysis, this is a spoiler-free zone, to the extent that I won't be talking about the movie much at all, to be honest. I'll be mainly giving you a bit of a context for the film, so that when you watch it you understand the historical period, the importance it has, and why you as a film student or budding filmmaker should watch this movie. So Black Narcissus was written, produced and directed by Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, known as The Archers. For the most part, Emmerich Pressburger was the writer, Michael Powell was the director, but like the Coen brothers later, they kind of do a bit of everything. Once they formed their own production company, The Archers, they agreed to share equal credit on production, direction and writing. So the film is based on a book written by Rumer Godin, and it won the Oscar for Best Cinematography and Best Art Direction. These are the two key reasons to watch this film as a film student. It looks amazing. It's one of only a handful of Technicolor films made in England because of the war, which includes the two previous Archers films, A Matter of Life and Death, also known as Stairway to Heaven, and The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. And it's one of the greatest films using that process to this day. I would encourage you to look at any of the Archers, the Powell Pressburger films, including A Matter of Life and Death, The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, The Red Shoes, which has been iconic, especially those wanting to get into ballet. This one, of course, Black Narcissus, and there are many others. But of all their films, if you only watch one, this is the one I encourage you to watch.
Do you like it, Sister Ruth? It's called Black Narcissus. Comes from the Army Navy stores in London.
Black Narcissus. I don't like scent at all.
Oh, Sister, don't you think it's rather common to smell of ourselves?
So the story, in a very basic nutshell, is a group of English nuns go to the Himalayas to set up a convent.
And you have been appointed to take charge of St. Faith.
I, Reverend Mother?
You. You will be the youngest Sister Superior in our order.
That's it. That's all I'm going to tell you about the plot, right? You can imagine what the rest might be. It was made in 1947, so only 2 years after the end of World War II. And we're still in this, England is still in this post-colonial, post-World War II period, where India, at that time, was still a colony, essentially, of England. And despite the fact that they were going to go on location originally, the entire film was shot in and around London. And it doesn't look like it, does it? This is the art direction, the matte paintings, and the cinematography. It's also arguably one of the first examples of film noir in colour. It's never been really called a film noir movie, Black Narcissus, but Jack Cardiff was already experimenting with what was possible with Technicolor. Also, being 1947, it's shot in a 4:3 Academy frame aspect ratio, so bear that in mind. And there are certain politically incorrect things about the film by today's standards, such as Gene Simmons playing an Indian girl. But I encourage you to watch the film in the context of the time it was made. It stars a very young Deborah Kerr. This is the film that kind of made her a star in Hollywood.
You must be Mr. Dean.
David Farrar.
I must.
And Kathleen Byron as Sister Ruth, the mad nun. It also stars Sabu, who was a young Indian star at the time. And another Michael Powell film I encourage you to try and find is The Thief of Baghdad from 1940. The visual effects are to this day quite spectacular for a 1940s film.
After 2,000 years.
Sabu also starred in the early live-action version of The Jungle Book. Try to find that if you can.
I'm with the man pack now. See? I have a tooth as sharp as a tiger's tooth.
But the main reason I suggest Black Narcissus is for the cinematography, which won an Oscar for Jack Cardiff, and the art direction by Alfred Junger. If you're going to make a film about, as Michael Powell has said, it's the most erotic film he's ever made. An erotic film featuring nuns. If you're going to make a film about eroticism or sensuality, the senses, this is a great example of how to visualize that without being too overt about the whole thing. The film, unfortunately, in 1947, America still had strict censorship. The Hays Code was kind of still in force. So the film did get a release, but a lot of the more sensual scenes were cut out. Americans at the time couldn't handle nuns with emotions.
Do you know what the people call this place? The House of Women. The General's father used to keep his ladies here.
From now on, it will be known as the House of St. Faith. Sister, will you have that picture taken down?
But the film has been released on DVD and Blu-ray. There's a Criterion version of it, and I in fact have this box set of all the Powell-Pressburger films, most of them anyway. Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger formed a partnership and they made a dozen or so movies together, all of which are considered pretty much classics of English cinema. We've all heard about Alfred Hitchcock, we know about Stanley Kubrick. Michael Powell, unfortunately, one of his later films called Peeping Tom, got very bad reception because it basically has a sympathetic look at the protagonist who is a peeping Tom. And the censors at the time didn't like that. And that basically destroyed Michael Powell's career, in England at least, which is very unfortunate. He made a couple more movies in Australia, as it happens. They're A Weird Mob and The Getting of Wisdom. But after Peeping Tom, his career was essentially over, which is a damn shame because he has made some of the greatest films ever made, honestly. And this one, Black Narcissus, is one of those. So I encourage you to watch it. You'll find it on, as I say, on disc, on Blu-ray. I think there's a version on YouTube, which you can watch for free. I don't know if it's available on any streamers at the moment, but as a film student or budding filmmaker, you should have all of these kinds of films on disc in your own personal library, right? To view whenever you want, because they could disappear off streaming at any point. And I'm not sponsored by them, but I do encourage you to track down the Criterion collections of many of these films. They're the best restored versions. So to all film students and budding filmmakers out there, I encourage you to track down and watch Black Narcissus by the Archers, Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.